The Doomer Bloomer podcast is a community for the resurrection of good ideas. We profile the hero's journey in weekly episodes and teach people about the 10 pillars framework for success in life, business, and relationships. Our mission is to find and help all Doomer Bloomers with mental health issues, poverty mindset, lack of resources, and those left behind in this world. Tune in weekly with Will S. and occasionally John Wynn as we have deep conversations with guests about the hero's journey, clown world order, and the resurrection of good ideas. To help support our community, go to www.thedoomerbloomerpodcast.com/support to become a member today. And remember, we are the cure for COVID-19. We started? There we go. Welcome back to the Doomer Bloomer podcast. This is your host, Will S. We're talking about the hero's journey in 45 to an hour minute episodes every week. We're helping people with poverty mindset, lack of resources, and mental health issues. In that vein, I've reached out to a gentleman by the name of Darren Jacklin. You may have heard him in and around Canada. He lives in Vancouver. And Darren, how are you doing this morning?
I'm grateful to be here. Thanks so much for the invitation to allow me to contribute and make a difference.
Right. The main reason I guess I reached out to you is that you have a new upcoming book. It's called Until I Become. And it sounds like this was something that you were resistant to in the past. Like you never thought yourself as a writer before, right?
Yeah, I never saw myself ever writing or disciplining myself to ever do something like this. And, over the last 25 plus years, I've had over 300 book publishers from around the world in all different cities and countries and continents reach out to me and want me to write a book. And I just said no to all of them. I just had no interest, no desire. And then during COVID-19 in 2020, during the lockdown, where we were social distancing and self-isolating, I was doing some estate planning, end of life planning. I was going through a lot of my journals that I've accumulated and collected every day throughout many years of my life. I've got boxes of journals, and I was thinking about who I was going to pay it forward to in my family. My nieces and my nephews going to give them to. And I thought, wow, there's so much valuable information and content and wisdom in these books of my journey from where I started to where I am today, of all the peaks and valleys and adversities and failures and challenges, and how did I turn things around and overcome, whether it was financial pressures or health issues or relationships or business, whatever it was. How did I make decisions, and what was my daily habits and daily routines? And so the book, Until I Become, is really very practical information that you're not going to get at a Harvard Business School or any of that stuff. It's practical information to show people how to, because in life, we're either coming from a problem, we're in a problem, or we're heading towards a problem. Just look at your life the next 24 hours. You're going to come from a problem, you're in a problem, you're heading towards a problem. It may happen in a single hour. And a lot of times we don't realize that these crises, these adversities, these challenges are actually blessings in disguise. And some people who have an entrepreneur mindset can monetize and turn that opportunity into an opportunity zone and actually monetize it and create an income stream from it and serve lots of people and make a contribution to humanity as well.
Well, I solved a problem today, getting a decent internet connection on my phone in my new travel trailer.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Yeah. And some entrepreneur took the risk to create the company to manufacture that to help support you in solving that problem.
Yeah, TELUS has not been the most helpful. I've had to go alternative routes on that one. So I would kind of classify you, or I don't like to put labels on people, but I've been following your story for a while, and I would definitely put you in the category of a classic doomer bloomer. Um, like especially your early life, you know what I mean? Like if someone tells you in high school that you're never going to amount to anything, like if that was me, I'd be pissed. Um, but
Hmm.
can you tell me a little bit about that time and like
Sure.
how that affected you to like like come to the other side of it, I guess, in a
Yeah,
sense?
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I can give some context to your viewers. So I grew up in a place called Swift Current, Saskatchewan, Canada, a city of less than
The
20,000 people population.
Yeah.
And in grade one of public school, I was misdiagnosed with a learning disability and a reading disability. And it was determined by the people in the school district for me to be then put into special education uh, programs. So I never went to regular public school from grade one through to grade 12. I was in special education. Some people would label me as retarded, special needs. And I failed grade one of public school and I really struggled throughout the school system academically. And so by the time I was 7 years of age, I created my first little company called Rent a Kid in Swift Current, Saskatchewan. And I would go out and cut grass, shovel snow in the wintertime, and deliver the Regina Leader Post newspaper 6 days a week in my neighborhood. And then going throughout elementary school, then junior high and high school, I really struggled. I was, always the kid that was always picked on any sports team last in school in terms of physical education. I didn't pass exams. I always failed exams. I was always disruptive in class. I was always, always got into trouble for things I wasn't even at the scene of the crime in a sense for, but you got to pick on somebody. So I was the token kid. And so then I got into high school and I was in grade 11 one day and a guidance counselor and a school teacher took me out of class one day and brought me down to the guidance counselor's office. And they said, Darren, if you graduate from grade 12 of public school, if you graduate, where do you plan to go with your life? And I said, I want to travel the world and I want to build companies and build a portfolio of companies. I want to build financial wealth and do philanthropy and charitable things and make a huge contribution to the world and employ lots of people and create lots of economic development opportunities. And they both looked at each other in this meeting thinking, okay, like this is a bunch of crap. Like this guy's drinking the Kool-Aid here, kumbaya. And they were the dream stealers. And they just looked at me and they said, Darren, listen, come on. Listen, you're a throwaway kid. Kids like you are throwaway kids. You're never going to amount to much. You might live on welfare. You might see your 20th birthday, but kids like you are going nowhere fast. And let's just deal with the practicality of reality here. Let's stop pulling your head out of the clouds here and get down to reality. You may not pass grade 12. You're a defunctioning kid. You're special education. Kids like you are throwaway. You don't go anywhere. And it really damaged my self-confidence, my self-worth, and my vision was very foggy for where I wanted to go. So when I did graduate from grade 12, just barely passing by the passing mark of grade 12, I left high school, did multiple suicide attempts to end my life because I had no direction. I had no focus. I had no purpose as a man. I just had a very foggy vision for my future. And I had a lot of negative self-talk inside my head. I didn't have a voice or voices. I had a whole stadium of voices that were talking to me very negatively. And so I used to drive my car at 140 kilometers an hour or 85 miles an hour towards telephone poles. And I used to premeditate and visualize suicide. And on my final attempt, I decided I couldn't do it. I chickened out, drove myself into a crisis line. There was a physical building where they had 24-hour crisis line support in Vernon, British Columbia, Canada, where I was living at the time. And I rang the door buzzer of this place and I said, listen, I'm trying to commit suicide. I need to turn myself in. And then they started counseling me. And then they introduced me to, this is back in the early 1990s, to a Dale Carnegie training program, and then from a Dale Carnegie training program to a Toastmasters International group in Vernon, British Columbia, Canada. And those two groups had positive role models and positive mentors in my life. And they poured into me and loved all over me. And that started to create and shape the foundation of my life. And I'm very grateful for Dale Carnegie training and his book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, and also through Toastmasters and the many men and women who supported me and served me during my 11 years in that organization. It really changed the quality of my life. And I highly recommend those two groups as well. And so that set me on a path to go out and do extraordinary things that, if you have questions, I can answer for you and serve people with those answers.
Well, it's funny you should mention Toastmasters just because like it was something I was going to get into like
Mm-hmm.
in and around and prior to COVID. And there are, I guess, the online meetups you can go to nowadays. Um, And then the other question I had is like you're also, so it says here like your parents got divorced around that time as well, right?
Yeah, my parents got divorced while I was in high school. It
Yeah.
was a rough divorce, and like any kid going through parents divorcing, sometimes us as kids we blame ourselves at what did we do wrong to cause our parents to fight and argue or divorce, and so there was that as well, right? And then even around high school graduation, making that work so both parents could be in the physical gymnasium at the same time, but not have a conflict and challenge. So yeah, it really affected me as well. I was the middle child and still am the middle child to this day. But yeah, I did divorce and, not proud of it, but they're better off for both of them. They're both remarried now and both living, in close proximity to each other. But it's challenging for any kid to go through that.
Well, I agree. I'm also a child of divorce, so I can definitely relate to a lot of that. Um, and you said your first business was Rent a Kid.
Rent a
Um,
kid.
yeah, and then you tried to run into a telephone pole. Then you were at Toastmasters, so that would put you in like early 20s territory. What were you doing in Vernon? How did you get from Swift Current to Vernon?
Yeah, great question. So, as a kid growing up in Swift Current, Saskatchewan, my grandparents on my dad's side moved from Saskatchewan to the Okanagan Valley of British Columbia, Canada, called Vernon, British Columbia. So, as a kid during summer holidays, we would go out most years from Saskatchewan, driving the Trans Canada through Saskatchewan, Alberta into British Columbia, and we would spend 1, 2, or 3 weeks in the Okanagan Valley of British Columbia. So I had many trips back and forth growing up in my early formative years and my junior high and high school years going to Vernon, British Columbia. So then after I graduated from Swift Current, Saskatchewan in 1991, a city of less than 20,000 people in population, I just really felt there's nothing there for me in terms of economic development opportunities. I love the warmer weather. I like the milder climates in the wintertime. So that's why I migrated out to Vernon, British Columbia, to the Okanagan Valley, and spent a great deal of my life and still go back quite often. I've got family back there and friends back in Saskatchewan, also in the Okanagan Valley. So I go back and forth, and I own some real estate back there as well, some investment properties.
Yeah, it's like it's a retiree's heaven there nowadays.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah. Great weather
uh,
though. Lots of fruit, and it's a great lifestyle area, the Okanagan Valley. It's a great place if people like to golf, or they like to ski, or they like to boat, or be on the water, or be in the beaches, or drink wine. It's a great place for people with families or people from all different walks of humanity.
yeah, I'm actually headed there tomorrow.
Oh wow.
um, yeah, like, but I'm fairly mobile nowadays, just because I'm like consulting a lot on renewable energy
Hmm.
projects, so it's kind of best for me.
That's great.
Uh, no worries. Um, so you would say that you got your like, I mean, you say you only have high school, but Toastmasters like really gave you that foundation to get to the next level. Like how, like as a doomer, like I've also
Hmm.
struggled with the suicide uh, thing. I spend a lot of time on the Reddit forums looking at the suicide watch every once in a while. Just because I know there are people out there struggling with
Hmm.
that, especially in the past year.
Absolutely.
I've really had to pivot what I was doing. I used to climb wind towers, so like
Oh wow.
300 feet wind towers. I'm a Red Sea electrician by trade.
Wow.
Um, but I did really struggle in my middle 20s to like finish my apprenticeship and even get that under my belt. And like with the COVID situation, um, like the world's had to pivot, and I think you're more
Hmm.
than aware of that, especially with
Absolutely.
the EPX Realty. For those of us who don't know what EPX Realty is, can you just give a little bit of an overview of how you're involved
Yeah.
with them?
Yeah. So yeah, for sure. Yeah. EXP Realty started in 2009 in
Yeah.
Bellingham, Washington, USA. It was founded by a Canadian, and he had 4 bricks and mortar franchises in Washington State. And we all know during 2008, 2009, there was a big downturn in the market. We had a big market correction. Well, what happened was, those offices didn't perform because you hire commission salespeople that are independent contractors and they're out, prospecting and networking and selling residential real estate. But when they're not making money, they have to pay their bills. And so they go look for other employment opportunities. But if you're the broker and you've got all the bricks and mortar and you've got all the overhead expenses, the taxes, maintenance, insurance on these places, you're stuck. And so end up having to close down those physical locations, those franchises. And what happened was during that crisis, he created an opportunity. And the opportunity that he created was he thought just kind of like Blockbuster and Netflix. Netflix realized, hey, we don't need the physical bricks and mortar buildings, right? Just like Uber and the taxi cab industry. So what he did was he thought, why don't we create a cloud-based residential real estate company? And this is Glenn Sanford. And I highly recommend anybody that's watching or listening to Google Glenn Sanford. This guy's a genius. He's like the next Steve Jobs, a man of heart, a man of integrity, a man of vision, and incredible guy. So in 2013, 100 plus licensed residential real estate agents in Washington State and I believe Arizona. At the time, I got introduced to Glenn Sanford through a mutual friend out of Kelowna, British Columbia, Canada, in the Okanagan Valley. And at that time, it was a private little startup company, everything being done on QuickBooks. And we were looking at doing a RTO, reverse takeover, on a private shell company that we're going to buy through this family out of Kelowna, British Columbia. And so the family asked me to be part of the due diligence team. We went back and forth for several months looking to vet this opportunity. And then the family came back to me. This is a high net worth family. They came back to me and said, listen, I think that you should be an independent board of directors on this company. And so I met with Glenn and we had some great conversations, collaboration back and forth. And I felt that I could be a huge asset to open up some doors, introducing some people and helping to grow and scale this residential cloud-based real estate company with no physical bricks and mortar. So myself and a couple other people, we've created this dream team and we started to grow as a team. And, I officially announced in 2014 that I joined the board of directors of this small company, right? With less than a couple hundred people in the entire company. Well, fast forward to 2021, right now at the time of this recording, we're now a multi-billion-dollar company. We're in 15 different countries. We have over 56,000 licensed residential real estate agents. And now we've opened up a commercial division as well. So we're 56,000 licensed agents at the time of this recording. And a month from now, we'll be at a different level as well. We're publicly traded on NASDAQ. So I've had a chance now, not once, but twice, to go to New York City to Times Square and ring the closing bell on NASDAQ. And that's an incredible experience. Statistically, very few people ever get that opportunity in business to ever go to New York and ring a closing bell or an opening bell. And statistically, small percentage of people ever go back twice and ever do it. And so I'm very honored and very humbledly blessed and grateful to do that. And so we are a residential commercial real estate company that's cloud-based. And we have zero debt on the balance sheet at the time of this recording. And we have no physical bricks and mortar location. So imagine 56,000 people in 15 countries on 5 continents, a multi-billion-dollar company, and we have no physical bricks and mortar. We're a total virtual cloud-based technology real estate company. So we're actually a technology company selling residential and commercial real estate internationally. And so we're a fast-growing, hyper-growth company, and we have a lot of people who track us online, whether it's through our stock, it's through our social media platforms, and you're starting to see more and more residential and commercial real estate signs pop up all over internationally in all our different market centers. And so we also acquired, in the last year, we acquired success.com, Success Enterprises, Success Magazine, and all those assets. We also acquired a company called Verbella out of California a few years ago, which is a big success story as well. So I invite people to check out, expworldholdings.com, or just go to Google and type in EXPI on Google, and that will give you a lot of information. You can start doing your research and due diligence and check us out and start following our social media and tracking us. It's an incredible success story of what we're doing.
And this comes from the guy that says he wasn't going to amount to anything in high school.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because when I was first in the discovery process with EXP, And then they asked me to join the board of directors, right, and take an equity position. I went out as part of my own due diligence, and I went to 73 different people that I really respected and admired across the North American continent that were, top producing real estate agents, real estate brokers, franchise owners. And I went to these 73 people because I respect and admire them. And my own independent research, and I said, hey, listen, this is what I'm looking at getting myself involved in. I'd like to get your professional opinion or feedback. And I kept track in my journal of all 73 people, and all 73 people said, don't get involved with this company. You're going to compete in an industry that's been around for decades, that has very deep financial pockets and years of branding. Some of these big branded real estate companies throughout North America internationally, you can't compete. They're big giants in the industry. They've been around for decades, and they got deep financial pockets, and they're run by accountants and lawyers. How are you going to compete with that with a startup company with no money building the airplanes you're flying at? So I got a lot of hate and a lot of criticism, a lot of negative feedback. And now, several years later, they look back and say, oh my gosh, you're in 15 countries on 5 continents. You're a multi-billion-dollar company. You're publicly traded on NASDAQ. Oh my gosh, look what you're doing. And so it's changed. And so a lot of people who hated on me in the early days now come back and they look at us and think, wow, look what you guys have created as a team collectively together. And it's an incredible team that's built this company. And I'm very proud of everybody that's involved.
Well, it sounds like an unbelievable success, but I want to talk a little bit more about your failures.
Sure.
Because I often find that we learn a lot more from failure than we do from success. We do. And what is your biggest failure, and what did you learn from it?
Yeah. So one is, so in my teens and early 20s, I made a bunch of money, hustling, doing all kinds of odd jobs, different work. I was racking and stacking cash because I wanted to make some money and get some money in the bank. And I had actually met 2 guys at a birthday party one day, and were really excited. They had a startup business opportunity, and I got excited. I got elated. I got a dopamine fix off of it, and they were looking for an investor. And I thought, wow, cool. I got some cash in the bank. This is a good opportunity. I didn't know it was a speculative or speculation investment opportunity. I was just excited. It was a shiny object to me. And I was in my early 20s. So I liked this shiny object. And I thought, wow, I can go to the bank. I can pull out and withdraw some cash, large amounts of cash I've saved up, and I can invest in this company. Also, these 2 guys that co-founded the startup company, they didn't have any money, and they had poor credit. And so I thought, wow, I got cash and I got credit. I got a big ego. I'm very confident. You know what I mean? I can be the investor. So, I'm getting this dopamine high. And so what I did is I went and I got all this cash out of the bank, give it to them, and then I co-signed all the lines of credit, all the loans. And I didn't realize that with the bank, the paperwork, the legal paperwork I was signing was what they call a GSA, called the General Security Agreement. People can look that up online, General Security Agreement. And what that basically says is you're collateralizing any assets that you have. And so I collateralized any assets I had. And so what happened was 120 days later, business days later, the bank called the demand loan because we were high risk and we weren't paying our bills on time. And so I was the co-signer. And so these 2 guys took off, and they weren't returning the demand phone calls and the demand letters in the mail and the registered letters in the mail back in the time. This is back in the 1990s. And so what happened was I got a knock on the door one day, and it was a bailiff, and he was looking for me, and he wanted to repossess my car and take my car and put it at auction and sell the car off, and the money goes to pay the loans because I was the co-signer. And I got my car repossessed, got my bank account frozen, wrote a bunch of NSF, non-sufficient fund checks. I got evicted from my place because I couldn't pay my rent because my bank account was frozen. I couldn't pay my bills because my bank account was frozen at the time. And I ended up coming on the streets being homeless. And I ended up being litigated, sued by the banks because I was the co-signer. And I remember going into the courthouse one day, and I was terrified. I didn't have any money for a lawyer. I was representing myself. So I went into the courtroom, and the judge asked me to come up to the bench, and he said, young fella, he said, where's all your paperwork? I had no paperwork. I'd done everything on verbal agreements. I took these people at their word. So I had no legal contracts or agreements or nothing signed with these 2 guys I was co-signing for. And all the paperwork I did sign with the banks, they kept it. I had nothing. I was a young guy, inexperienced. What I was doing, I just bought into a dream and bought into the speculation. So the young guys, the judge said to me, he said, let's just take a 5-minute recess. He goes, young fella, he said, listen, I want to share something with you. And this is something that's gold. If people can write this down, it's very important. It cost me a lot of money to learn this lesson. When a person with money meets a person with experience, the person with the experience ends up with the money. When a person with money meets a person with experience, the person with the experience ends up with the money. I had the money. I didn't have the experience. I met other people who were more experienced than me, getting me to co-sign and collateralize things and take my money because I got into a speculative opportunity without doing any due discovery or any due diligence. I didn't know what the discovery process was or due diligence process. I do know now, and I'm very good at that now. And I've got a great team of people around me that are very good at and very thorough at asking a lot of tough questions and punching holes in business plans and models and when we're looking at investing. But when a person with money meets a person with experience, the person with the experience ends up with the money. And so a lot of times people today, they'll inherit money or they'll win money or they'll sell something and go through a cash liquidity event, or they'll build a company up and they'll sell it and they'll make a bunch of money, or somebody will pass away and there's a death benefit through life insurance or inheritance or whatever. And they get this lump sum of cash and they don't know what to do with it. And then they attract sharks in the water. And all of a sudden, in a very short period of time, that money disappears and goes to other people. And so that was a big lesson. I got spanked really hard. And 7 years of a lot of stress and sleepless nights in my 20s. You know, I owed money on the streets. I had a bad reputation. I had a bad name. I was completely out of integrity. And that's what I really discovered in all of that. I discovered some great lessons. One is I was homeless. So I was living on welfare for a couple months, living in an apple orchard. And I remember I couldn't cash my welfare check at the bank because I was being sued by the bank and my bank account was frozen. So I would go physically pick up my welfare check at the welfare office. And the lady who looked after me, I still know her to this day. You know, we're going back almost 30 years ago, you know, and I still know that lady to this day. And I had to take my government ID and I got my welfare check. And then I would walk over to the 7-Eleven convenience store and I would buy a hot dog and a super big gulp or a Slurpee at the 7-Eleven. And I would live on $1.69 a day. And so today in my life, I'm really good at earning money. I'm very good at protecting money, and I'm very good at multiplying money. I'm really, really good at multiplying money. And I have a lot of people approach me all the time wanting to co-invest with me and invest with me on projects, you know, real estate projects, because I'm really good at managing in terms of a discipline and financial intelligence because I learned the hard way, the street smart way. And so these are actually blessings in disguise. And I share this with people because sometimes when you're going through things, it's not fun. It's not pleasant. It's a stressful and scary experience. It was, you know, scary every day going into the 7-Eleven and living on a hot dog and a super big gulp and learn how to live on less than $2 a day Canadian in a first world country. But today, years later, I'm blessed and grateful because that taught me how to earn money, protect money, and then multiply money, which I use today. And it's served me and served people around me in my inner circle very well who are involved with me on some of my projects.
Do you believe in having a mastermind group?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I spend, I spend a lot of money every year. I belong to a private mastermind group currently right now in Florida that's 7 to 9 figure level people. So the key thing about mastermind groups, and I get approached all the time, like frequently, you want to get around a mastermind group where you see yourself in 2 years from now. You want to be the dumbest, brokest person in that mastermind group. If you've got education like degrees and you're going to that mastermind group to impress people, or you're not going to grow. You want to go in where you feel incompetent, you feel intimidated, you feel out of your comfort zone, and you want to qualify. You want to do your research or do your due diligence on mastermind groups and interview the men and women that are in these groups and who's hosting or coordinating these groups before you say yes and join. Go through a discovery process, do an evaluation, go through a probationary period, like 30 or 60 or 90 days, or a couple meetings, 1 or 2 or 3 meetings before you say yes. Because I've made some mistakes. I went to mastermind groups where I go in there and they're trying to sell me a ticket to get in, a seat deposit. And I get in there and they're like, oh yeah, all these people are going to be in there. And you get in there and you realize you're the most accomplished, the most successful person in the room. And now you're starting to advise it. And the people who put the mastermind group on are actually leveraging you. And they don't realize that they're having other conversations. Oh my gosh, we got Darren Jacklin just joined our group. Oh, who's Darren Jacklin? Oh, you should research him. You should Google him. Man, this is all the thing this guy's done. And you don't realize that you're a placement that people are actually leveraging you to sell more seats to get things. So you want to qualify the mastermind group you're in but also look at where do you plan to see yourself 2 years from now, and then get around people who are already living that lifestyle, whatever you want to create, because success is different for everybody, personally, professionally. So then you gravitate towards. So in the mastermind group that I belong to, we've got people anywhere from, a net worth of $3 million up to $100+ million net worth. We got people running 7, 8, 9-figure level companies, people that are extreme health, that are, got the ideal, incredible bodies, and people have great relationships with their families and their kids, and lifestyle and travel and health and fitness and raising extraordinary kids and relationships. So whatever you desire in your life, could be spirituality. To me, I like self-actualization, Maslow's hierarchy of needs of human growth and potential. So I like to be in a mastermind group where people kick my butt and challenge me to level me up and skill me up.
I have that on my wall. I look at it every day. If you could pick just three categories, like to work on, like what would they be?
First of all, is your health. So health and fitness, health and nutrition is very important. So exercise. So I have an Apple Watch that I got given to me as a gift a few months ago from Tatiana. And I didn't want it when she first wanted me to get me an Apple Watch. To me, it was just a shiny object. It was a distraction. I didn't want one more thing to manage and look after. I got enough things I look after and manage in a day. I want another thing with more gadgets and more things to check in on, right? More moving parts. But I use it every day for my metrics. So I use it every day in terms of, how many steps I take, how many calories I burn, to my oxygen levels, my heart rate levels, to how much rest I get, to how much exercise I get. So I track my metrics every single day. I look at my metrics every day, my weekly report, my monthly report every day. So first of all is your health and nutrition, right? So like drinking lots of water. I drink a gallon of water every day. I drink a lot of nutritional stuff every day. These are a lot of my vitamins and stuff in here. So health is very, very important. Also your environment around you, right? Who you spend time with, your inner circle. Are the people that you're around, do they come from lack and scarcity mindset, or do they come from abundance and prosperity mindset? When you're around them, are you playing small or are you playing bigger in your life? Are you around people, are they contracting or are they expanding in terms of prosperity and abundance? And because your environment is always stronger than your willpower. And so you want to get around a very good environment that has integrity, right? Because without integrity, nothing works. There's no workability. So you want to get around people that, you watch their feet, not watch their lips. Because talk is cheap. And a lot of people cheapen their talk. So health is important. I'd say your environment is very, very important. And then also too is, we live in a world today with financial to get your money right. There's been books written over the years, Think and Grow Rich, The Wealthy Barber, The Richest Man in Babylon, some great classic books. But, I was never focused on money. Money was a byproduct of what I do. But I've got my money right today in my life. And I'm very grateful because there was times in my life where I did not have my money right. And I've created a lot of financial success for myself. But once you get money handled and you get money out of the way, it frees up a lot of your thinking time. It frees up a lot of your mindset. And you feel better and you do better and you treat people differently and better. And you're more generous. You're more philanthropic. You can do different things. And so the key thing with that is to pay yourself first. Every time, so for example, if you're an employee, every time you get your paycheck, and 78% of the North American population live paycheck to paycheck, and I was there. Man, I was sometimes so broke, I was living hour to hour, not paycheck to paycheck. So I can totally relate. I've eaten my next meal out of a garbage dumpster while I was homeless living on the streets. So I know what it's like to be down and out. I know what it's like to live in a treehouse too, which, my book, Until I Become, I show pictures of when I lived in a treehouse that a friend of mine.
It's got pictures too.
Yeah, we got pictures in the book, Until I Become. We're going to show, because it shows, verifiable evidence that my journey of my rags to riches stories of the peaks and valleys and adversities of things. So I'm grateful I've got a collection of photos over the years to document this and to show people. So you'll see in the book, it says I'm not down and out. I was up and out.
It's hanging out in the treehouse.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would agree with you. Like I read a lot. I mean, I think audiobooks have become pretty much my bread and butter the last year. I mean, and I highly recommend, like, Think and Grow Rich is a good one. It's a classic, obviously. Um, I the latest one I've been listening to, actually, I don't know if you've read it, is Psycho Cybernetics
Yes, great
by
book. Yeah.
but I think that's something that I think a lot of people kind of struggle with, is like their self-worth or their self-image. Um, and uh, well, I guess what I've done is I don't know what sort of process you have, but I'm more of a millennial. So I have an Alexa smart speaker,
Mm-hmm.
and she reminds me like of certain things every day, like I am a winner, or I am a millionaire, or just like general affirmations of positivity.
Yeah.
Um, do you have a similar
Yeah, absolutely.
process
Yeah. So I'll
for
share
your
some things
life?
with you. So yeah, so I have right here, I have 120 daily affirmations. So I have an electric toothbrush. I use an
Mm,
electric toothbrush, and I also have a water pick because I don't like to floss. So it takes me 9 minutes every time I do that with the water pick and with the with the electric toothbrush and the water pick. It takes me 9 minutes. So what I do is during that 9 minutes, I have these in front of the mirror. I have multiple copies of these laminated copies. And so I go through my 120 daily affirmations while I'm using my water pick and I'm using my electric toothbrush during the 9 minutes. So I'm condensing and leveraging time. Another thing, what I do in terms of building my self-confidence and self-worth, I learned from my own experience, was how I built, like I'm a very confident person today, but years ago I was very insecure and had a lot of very insecurities and low self-worth and didn't believe in myself, and a lot of negative self-talk. And what I discovered from my own experience being down and out was, what do I give my word to every day? See, for
okay.
most people, their word is powerless, right? Their word has
Mm,
no power. In fact, people say talk is cheap. I always say people cheapen their talk
mm,
because their words don't mean anything. So what if we could live from a mindset that our words create our world? Our words create our world. Just think about that for a moment. Our words create our world. And what if during the waking hours of our day, from the time we wake up till the time we go to bed at night, what if we just put our intention on what do we give our word to throughout the waking hours of our day? And what if we just put our intention to what we give our words to, that when we give our word to something, like we'll take out the garbage, we'll go for a walk, we'll exercise, we'll return a phone call, we'll run an errand, that every time that we give our word to something, to ourselves personally, our personal promise, that we honor our agreement, we follow through on that. Because what happens is, and I've met many people as I've traveled the world and guest speaked at many conferences and conventions, I met many people, especially investor conferences, where people are really skeptical of other people. They don't trust other people. And one
mm.
of the things is they don't trust themselves. And they're like, well, man, if I can't keep my own word to my own self, how can I rely on somebody else as a stranger who I've just met, who I don't know and like and trust yet? How can I have them keep their word if I can't even keep my own personal promises to my own self? So one of the great processes and exercises to building your self-confidence, self-worth is just start with putting your intention on what you give your word to every day. And when you break your agreement with yourself, restore your integrity, and just keep doing that and build that muscle, that mindset muscle of restoring your integrity and building that. And you'll find over a period of time, 30, 60, 90 days, how much your self-worth and self-confidence and self-belief in yourself will start to build. And when you build your belief in yourself, you will vibrate a different frequency of energy, and you'll start to attract different people. Because here's something to consider. And I want people to write this down. Success is not something you go out in the world to pursue. Success is
No.
something you attract into your life by the person that you become. I'll say that again. Success is not something you go out in the world to pursue. Success is something you attract into your life by the person that you become. So become an attractive person. And becoming an attractive person starts with your self-worth, your self-belief, and your self-confidence, because it changes your vibration of energy of how people meet you. Because when people meet you, they're either attracted to you or they're repelled from you. But if you're self-sabotaging by beating yourself up with negative self-talk, and you don't believe in yourself and you lack the self-confidence, you're walking around in the world, and no wonder people won't invest in your business opportunity. No wonder people won't give you referrals or give you leads or give you a promotion or a raise in your company or place of work, because it starts with you, right? I always say, the other day I was talking to somebody and somebody's like, listen, I said, listen, David, nobody's a jerk until you show up. Wherever you go, you take yourself with you. So if you will change, everything will change for you. If you will change, everything will change for you. If you start changing your money habits, everything will change for you. I'm down 25 pounds just in the last couple months by diet and exercise, right? Because I love potato chips. I love ice cream, okay? But I just started doing a lot of hiking. I started to play games on my iPhone watch, my Apple Watch, in regards to my metrics. And then every day after my watch, every night, this gets messaged to an accountability partner. Now, I'm very self-disciplined, self-reliable, but I do it as an extra layer of accountability. And one of the things that with a lot of people is a 3-step process. When people set New Year's goals or New Year's resolutions, the reason why most people in the first 30 days, they fall flat on their New Year's resolutions, New Year's goals, is step number 1 is their goal or their personal promise or their target. It's not specific, it's not measurable, and it's not actionable. Most people are general when it comes to their goals and dreams. It's not specific, measurable, and actionable. Step number 2 is there's no structure. So I always say to people, whatever you want to do in your life, if it's not structured and bring it into existence into your calendar, that I can see it, it doesn't exist in your life. So if you look at my life, I'm obsessed with my calendar. My life is run by my calendars, okay? Because I can look at my life through my calendars, okay? So number 1 is specific, measurable, actionable goal or target. Number 2 is creating the structure. And number 3 is the accountability. And that's why people do not achieve their goals and dreams or their New Year's resolutions, because it's not specific, measurable, and actionable. There's no structure to bring it into existence, right? With reminders or alarms. Like my iPhone that I have here, I have alarms throughout my day. So my calendar is linked to my alarms. So I can be fully present with you, not think about anything else, being present in the moment with you. And I know that when I have to pivot and go to my next call or my next meeting, because my phone will send an audible and a vibrational alarm to me. Plus, I'll also get a calendar reminder by text or by email as well. So I got different layers of messages to me. But the thing is that that's a big thing for a lot of people. And so, I deal with a lot of business people, a lot of real estate agents and mortgage brokers all the time contact me because I serve on a bunch of different boards of directors of public and private companies. And they're like, well, man, I want to make more money as a real estate agent. Okay, great. Let me see your calendar. In the next 7 days, have you scheduled into your calendar, time blocked it, color coded green for money, revenue generating activities? Well, no. Okay. So no wonder you're not increasing money. You want to build financial wealth? Have you structured into your calendar the next 7 days, wealth building opportunities? Studying wealth building. Feel like, no. Do you have any books on wealth building? Do you get around any mentors? Have you taken a millionaire, a multimillionaire, a decamillionaire out for lunch in the last 30, 60, 90 days? Have you had a phone call with a millionaire, multimillionaire, decamillionaire, a billionaire? Yesterday I was with a billionaire. The last 4 days I was with a billionaire. I was just on his yacht. I just got off a yacht last night. And I spent the last 4 days with a billionaire, one of the wealthiest guys in the world, in the Forbes 400 list. And I just spent 4 days on a yacht with him, right? So the thing is that now it took me years to get there. And years ago, I wouldn't believe I'd ever have that opportunity. Now you say, well, yeah, good for you. Why would you hang out with a guy like that? Because guess what? The conversation is different. The reason why you hang out with millionaires and multimillionaires and decamillionaires and hectomillionaires and billionaires, the conversation is different. The way you get to become a millionaire or multimillionaire is solve more problems in the world. That's what it is. You solve problems and have a fair means exchange of compensation. But you solve problems. Right? If you walked around the world and just asked everybody to give you $1, you talk to 1 million people, you'd have $1 million.
Millionaire
right? Because
math.
here's something to consider. See, a lot of people think this is really hard. I'm just going to again, I'm a kid who barely passed school, right? So I'll just make it really simple how I understand the world. As human beings, all we are, and this I talk about in the book, Until I Become, I explain this in more detail, but because all we are is a network of conversations. As human beings, we're just a network of conversations. You and I started having a conversation. We're here today because you and I had previous conversations before we did this interview today. People are going to listen to this of you and I having a conversation. And they're going to take from this like a buffet of what they want. Some things will apply to them, some things they won't apply to them. So anything that we want in our lives is going to come from strangers. Strangers, everything we want, everything we need, everything we desire in our lives. But we're taught as children in most environments growing up, don't talk to strangers. Strangers are unsafe to talk to. During the global pandemic of COVID-19, We're taught social distance and self-isolate. Wear a mask. Don't talk to people. Right? But the key thing is that in our lives, people look at me, and I talk about this in Until I Become the book, of all the success I've achieved today. If I just simplify it and break it all down, it comes back to my daily habits, my daily routines. So my daily habits, my daily routines. It comes back to my requests and my promises. My promises are my personal promises. These are my personal promises for 2021. These are my top 10 personal promises of what I committed my life to this year. These are my core habits, my core values, and one of the things I cherish about Tatiana, who's my partner in my life, in my relationship, who I love very dearly. Okay? But I carry these with. If you see me on an airplane, you see me at a gym, you see me out hiking on a hiking trail out in the wilderness, you see me on a boat, a yacht, I will always have these with me. I have multiple copies of these. And if I don't have it physically, I'll have it digitally on my phone or on my laptop computer. But I look at this multiple times throughout the day. And I read these every day. It's non-negotiable. Everywhere I go, I carry my goals and dreams with me. And I look at them frequently. See, most people don't do that. If I walk down in a street, pick any city in the world, and I just walk down the street and randomly select people for a survey and say, listen, can you show me your top 10 goals for this year? Excuse me? What are you talking about? I don't understand what you're talking about. 9 out of 10 people, when you ask them, what do you really, really, really want in your life? The number one consistent answer, and I've done this all over the world. I've done this in 50 countries. On 4 continents, I've surveyed people in 50 countries in person. The number one consistent answer people say is, I don't know. So if you don't know what you really, really want, how can we be in service to help you get what you really want in your life? Because all we are is a network of conversations. And I talk about in the book, Until I Become, I give examples about requests and promises that when you make a promise to yourself, whatever it is, you say, Will says, hey, I want to be a millionaire. Okay, you know how you become a millionaire? You go out there and start making requests to strangers. And when you make requests for things, people will do one of 3 things. They'll accept your request, they'll decline your request, or they'll counteroffer your request. They'll either accept, decline, or counteroffer. They'll do one of the 3.
One with Robin Offa starts in 10 minutes.
I like that.
My Alexa.
That's
my Alexa.
Talking.
Yeah, that's my Alexa. She tells me my next meeting is in 10 minutes.
Yeah, so you got a reminder. See, because you're living by your calendar.
Yeah.
And I want to acknowledge that. And
I would say that I'm definitely use structure to my advantage. And if you're not using the tools that we have available, especially in the 2020s, you're kind of falling behind. I like this. I like to see that you have the paper copy, and I like to see that you color coded it, because I color code everything as well. This is my workspace right now. Peace, harmony, and happiness.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then behind me I have normally I'm faced the other way, but I have a service reminder, and that I can survive comfortably on $333 a day, or that's
absolutely.
Get my it's the whole idea of you need to learn to crawl before you can run, like you were talking about earlier. If I set, you have to break it into $1 million broken down over 12 months, right? And then, or 10 months, let's say, and then that's 333,000 or per month. And then how much is that per day? How much is that per hour? Those are the thought experiments that I run all the time. And I have, like you mentioned, I have journals for the last 7 years, at the very least. And I've kept the amount of paperwork, not paperwork, but the amount of information that we generate every day. Cause I keep a journal for my work. I keep a journal for my personal. I also have a visual journal because I'm a visual learner, and
absolutely,
there's certain colors and there's certain things that mean different things to me. To me, blue is a color of an all true person. Like, I don't know how much you believe in auras or like
absolutely.
you're
Yeah,
talking
for
about
sure.
energies, right? But you can be a millionaire, but that doesn't mean you're necessarily a good person,
Exactly.
right? Because
Yeah,
you can become a millionaire through a lot of different ways, right?
absolutely. I'm going
But
to
I
show
would
you
say
something
that,
because you're very visual. I'm very visual as
yeah.
well. This is my must meet list. There's 100 people around the world. Every year I create a must meet list of people I want to meet. And so it's called,
Oh
so
yeah.
there's a thing called a most wanted list in law enforcement. Well, I have a must meet list. So I just play a game, and my game is the must meet list game. And I just share this with people. And whenever I meet the people, I put a star beside them. And so this is my must meet list game. And so these people from all walks of humanity, from Nobel Peace Prize winners to celebrities to billionaires to CEOs to philanthropists, right? Spiritual leaders, all kinds of people from all walks of humanity. So that's my must meet list. And so I always encourage people. People say, oh my gosh, you always meet a lot of people. You're always meeting a lot of people. I'm like, I do that by design. It's all intentional because I created a must meet list. Same thing with vision boards. I have, I have highlights of things in my life. So for example, this is, first time I was at NASDAQ in New York City, ringing the closing bell. There's Tatiana and I, in New York City. So we have different things throughout our lives that we focus on. And then we also have the other part of the house here. We have it's called the Aura, A-U-R-A. It's a rotating picture board. Every 15 seconds, it rotates pictures. So constantly we're being reminded of different things throughout our lives, right? I'm an investor in a private island that's being developed. And, this is the picture of the book of the islands. Right? So this is Jim Rohn, one of my first mentors. I was flat broke financially. This is Jim Rohn. He's passed away now. This is me meeting him in Kelowna, British Columbia, Canada, at the Grand Okanagan Hotel. So different things throughout our lives that we can have as visual reminders, which is very, very important.
Well, I mean, to a lesser extent, to a more extent, like I said, I use Instagram, because it's a visual medium, and you can put like, it's like a storyboard of your life as you're building it in a sense, but it's also a future vision board because you can plug in destinations or places or people or things that you're interested in following and wanting to learn more about. Like, I have a vision for myself that I'm going to build the most and largest sustainable green energy homestead in the Yukon.
Wow, fantastic!
But that wasn't a reality for me until I claimed it, and I have vision boards that remind me of that. But I also I tune into the frequency of what's going on in the world by going to Instagram, and I scroll through the posts that are just pictures of the Yukon, places that I want to see or should see, right? And it's like pre-programming my subconscious mind to the point where I'm already living that reality in a sense because I'm seeing it every day, right? It's reminding me that it reminds me that that I'm already there. And it's something I think like a lot of people could establish in their life, right? But
yeah, absolutely.
I guess go ahead.
Well, one of the things I always do is I call it dream building. So, people want to do decorations or home interior design changes in their home. We'll go to different open houses, look online or through your local newspaper or talk to different real estate agents in your neighborhood and find out on the weekends, on a Saturday or Sunday, where the open houses are in your neighborhood and go for a drive or go for a walk and go walk through different homes. I drive around neighborhoods to get different inspiring ideas. I was just, last week, I was at a quarterly business review for one of the companies I serve on the board of directors with. And I was talking over dinner one night with some people that were, from New York City. And they're talking about all these beautiful restaurants in New York. And I'm like, I've never heard of that restaurant. So I take it, I write it down, I put it into my phone, get back to my hotel room that night. I Google the restaurant, see the website, and I start visualizing, like you talked about, and dream building and imagining myself, wow, someday in the near future, I'm going to go to that restaurant. I'm going to book a reservation. I'm going to go there. And there was times where I would, like Fairmonts and Four Seasons hotels, I didn't have the financial budget to go there, man. I'm just trying to pay my rent on time at the end of the month and put food in my refrigerator. I didn't have money to spend on a hotel room like that. That was way out of my realm of like reality of thinking. So I used to go to the hotel lobbies of these 4 and 5 star hotels like the Fairmonts and Four Seasons and just hang out. And sometimes I'd order a cup of tea for a couple of dollars because that was my budget, but just so I could hang out in the restaurant or the lounge just to soak up the energy of the environment and use the free Wi-Fi. These are things I did in the early days. Like I remember seeing people valet park a car. I'm like, man, where do you get the money to valet park a car, man? I'm just trying to pay my bills. Like that's what you cost you to valet park that car, and that goes towards my cell phone bill. This is the way I was thinking. I remember when I moved to Vancouver here, and I would go downtown on the seawall down by Stanley Park here in Vancouver, and I'd see people going in the helicopter, and the helijet, and the float plane. I'm thinking, where do they get the money to go in the helijet? Where do they get the money to go in the float plane? Like, man, that's rent money. That's grocery money. It pays my bills. And so I just started watching these people get on and get off the planes. And today I fly by float planes. I fly by private helicopter at time. I've flown on private jets. I go on yachts, all that stuff. But there were days that I couldn't make sense of that until I started changing my environment of people around me.
I agree. I mean, I personally got the trailer because I can control this environment all the time now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I can be omnipresent because I truly believe that that's my I don't like use the word destiny, but my destiny is to change the world in the way that I know how, right? And whether it's through this podcast, through my renewable energy company, and then the other one is more about spirituality. I don't know if you're into the Tao Te Ching at all, but I read the Tao Te Ching pretty much every day to remind me mostly it's a reminder to be humble and to go from the mindset of striving to arriving.
Yeah, and being in service. Yeah.
Right. And being in service, because if you can start from a place of service, everything else will fall into place. Maybe it's not
the secret to living.
Yeah.
The secret to living is giving. Right? The secret to living is giving.
It's a very beautiful way, and giving without any sense of getting anything in return.
No attachment. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's to contrive, like, and I think at a certain level, especially in like today's society, like the way that it's been so capitalized, especially in the West, I would say.
Yep.
I would say there's kind of a cognitive dissonance there sometimes, right? Because you say that, hey, go and do service, be of service, but like you said, you still got to pay your bills, But I guess life is coming to a balance, and I have a word for the people that you were talking about, like on your vision board or whatever. I'm not sure what sort of criteria you use, but I'm trying to build a network of all truths, like all true people, like their internal compass is aligned, like to the truth of who they are and the reality. It's what Doomer Bloomers is really about. It's trying to connect those people from those disparate backgrounds, who have necessarily, like I said, a lot of people have fallen through the cracks of society. I mean, and I guess maybe this is kind of a good transition to what you're doing with Link 2 a little bit, just because that's your philanthropy project.
Yeah, with Link Foundation, for sure.
Maybe yours is a little more specific. Mine would be like, how can we transition the world to a tier 1 society, like in Star Trek, and get everyone above that level 1 on the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like the food, shelter, and security. If we can get globally 8 billion people above that poverty line, think of how much we could accomplish in this world. When people aren't struggling for their daily necessities, or you know what I mean. And that's those are the things that like keep me awake at night. It's the reason why I live my life. It's, I mean, if all things being equal, But I mean, my vision is grand, and I have a lot of time ahead of me, I think.
Sure.
So I just have the reminders here to not get
Yeah.
stressed out about that, I guess.
Yeah. And I appreciate you
Um,
taking this on. What a great mission to have in life.
yeah, and it's taken me a good 10 years to kind of get to this place, like through a lot of peaks and valleys, um and here we are. And it's actually been a genuine pleasure to meet you, Darren.
I'm grateful to be here. Yeah.
You're a very, very positive person. And it's yeah, I'm actually really glad, I guess, you're in my life. To
Awesome.
be
Well, I'm
honest.
grateful that you reached out and connected, and we've built this friendship together. I look forward to meet you. I'm a face-to-face, in-person person. I like the virtual world and technology. I like that, but I like getting together for a breakfast or lunch or dinner and meeting people face-to-face. I just like that more, where I can physically connect with you and feel your energy and be in the same room with you. I like that.
Well, we'll have trailer, will travel. So I'm pretty much,
You live in a mobile home, right? You're
yeah.
mobile.
I'm everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
The next destination is going to be the Okanagan, and kind of plan my next move from there, I guess.
Good for you. You're living life on your own terms, right?
Yeah, I mean, I try my very best. I mean, it's like we talked about, this trailer has been an idea for the last 5 years. And
Mm-hmm.
then just at the beginning of the month, I just not decided, but it's just like, no, it needs to become a reality.
Mm-hmm.
And there has been some growing pains, like trying to find or getting the internet connection
Yeah.
that I need to do my work on a daily basis. But it's like you said, you're either in a problem, in the middle of a like just
Going for
finish
a
a
problem,
problem in
in a
the middle,
problem, or heading towards a problem.
heading towards one, right? Um, so I guess there's some closing thoughts. I, I was going to ask you here. Um, the one yeah, we kind of talked about this, but how can one be service to your community and the world? And then I reference verse 17 of the Tao Te Ching a lot. I guess that'd be my personal philosophy for a lot of things,
Mm-hmm.
like just to be more of a servant leader than a tyrannical one.
Mm-hmm.
Just because tyrannical leadership doesn't work. um,
Yeah.
and what are your thoughts on that one?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that every day, for people as a takeaway, is to strive to be the best version of yourself every day, and
Mm,
to realize that when you get up and you brush your teeth or shaving or doing your hair or makeup, you're looking at yourself in the mirror, right? And it's interesting. I say look at yourself in the mirror, but yet when we do our humanitarian trips with Link Foundation over to Africa, we could be in Uganda or Kenya or Liberia, West Africa. We go to these remote villages. They don't have a mirror. They don't look at themselves, right? That's something that's manufactured. So be grateful for that. Be grateful that you have a mirror. And I think a big thing with what I look at in my life is gratitude.
yeah.
Every morning that I wake up before my feet are even on the ground or on the floor, I spend 30, 60 seconds just thinking in my mind, all the things I'm grateful for in my life. And I start with thanking my body and thanking all my vital organs for everything they do, from my eyes to my feet to my lungs to my heart to my kidneys. I'm in gratitude for that first couple minutes of my day. And one of the things is just, gratitude is so important, is realizing that the things that we complain about in a first world country or first world continent are blessings or dreams to people in a third world country, or third world village. And I encourage people, if you really want to get a different perspective, sign up, whether it's through your church or through a humanitarian organization, or reach out to us or that. But just go do a humanitarian trip. It could be in your local community. It could be through a local nonprofit or a charity or a Rotary Club or a church group or something like that. But go do something in good of other people. Walk into a children's hospital and walk into a seniors care facility, and it will change your attitude and change your mindset, because there's no guarantee we're going to go to bed tomorrow night. And every day, I always say to people always ask me, they go, "How are you today?" I said, "I'm grateful." Because most people say I'm not bad or not too bad. I say I'm grateful because I'm grateful I get to take this breath. I get a chance, I get to have a conversation with you right now, right? Because that's all we got is right now in this moment in time. And so I would just share with people that it's about gratitude. It's about counting your blessings and appreciating all the things for your life. You're going to have challenging times. I don't have bad days. Used to, my 20s, maybe early 30s. I don't know now because it's too expensive. Too expensive a bad day. I'll have bad moments, but not a bad day. Because, statistically, according to life insurance, people in the life insurance industry, we live about 32,000 days of our life. 32,000 days. So when you realize how expensive a day is with your mindset, your attitude, it's too costly to waste a whole day.
All right. So I guess I think we should kind of that's very poetic. So the best place for listeners to connect with you online, either your coaching link, online website, or social handles, Darren?
Yeah, just they go to darrenjacklin.com. That links you to all my social media. You can also Google my name, Darren Jacklin. You'll see our foundation called Link, LY2NK, Link Foundation come up as well. That's our global philanthropy that we do around the planet. Currently, we're right now focused on Liberia, West Africa, with future development plans for Uganda and Kenya, East Africa as well. But just Google me or go to darrenjacklin.com. If people want to pre-order or order the book that I've created, which is a game-changing book, it's untilibecome.com, untilibecome.com, and you can get yourself a personal copy of that, a hard or soft cover, and that will make a difference in your life as well. And I'm just grateful to be in service, and I acknowledge and thank people for watching or listening to this, and follow me on social media, and maybe sometime in the future we can get a chance to meet up sometime in person as well.
I would really enjoy that. Quick bonus question.
Sure.
You didn't answer it, but do you have a zombie plan?
Yes. So,
Twitter and Instagram at the Doomer Podcast. And as we were talking about, remember to be of service, and I think the rest will fall into place. Have a great and prosperous day.
thanks, everyone. So, in case zombies come to Earth, or what did you mean by that question?
Just like zombies attack, what would you do? I mean, it's more of like a tongue in cheek. It's a question I throw out there just to see what people do with it.
Yeah, what would I do? Interesting. Part of me would be fascinated to see who they are and what they are and how they live life. Sometimes I'd be curious to be captured to see what it'd be like to, where they're going to take me, right? What's that journey going to be? It's, what I'm saying?
I think
I'd be curious.
They're gonna bite you in the neck, and you're gonna become one.
Because as a kid, I was fascinated and also scared of the show E.T. because I used to look at when I used to watch E.T. when I was young. I would go into my closet every night and think E.T. was going to show up at my house. And I used to put out the Reese's Pieces in my house on the floor, my Halloween candy sometimes. And I was fascinated by the show E.T., right? So, yeah, it's interesting. That's a good question. I part of me would be curious to see who they are and what they do and how they got here and where they're going. Just kind of see, is there other life forms out there on different planets throughout this galaxy?
All right. Well, I guess we'll leave it at that. Thanks for tuning in, guys. This has been Will S. with the Doomer Bloomer podcast. As always, you can hit us up on all of our social medias, Facebook. Hello. If you enjoyed this content today with Darren Jacklin and you are interested in the resurrection of good ideas and becoming a doomer to a bloomer, please go to www.thedoomerbloomerpodcast.com/support and become a member today. We have a level 1 Patreon, which gets you exclusive access to content not seen on the regular show. Level 2 will get you Alexa level subscriber, Alexa speaker, smart speaker shipped to your home. If you want additional coaching and support, book a call with me directly. We're here to help those with poverty mindset become bloomers. Have yourself a great and prosperous day. Will S. Bye.